Hi there, it's Wednesday and I'm here with a special collaboration video. My friends Jay of J Dolls UK, Peace Craft Dolls with Tammy Powley and Marna at Dolls Rescued are joining me today in sewing some more clothes for our custom Wednesday Addams Blythe Dolls. Be sure to check out our original customization videos if you haven't seen them yet. I'll put links in the description. We each made ourselves a special Wednesday doll to celebrate the new Netflix show that's being released today. We're all excited to see it, so thought we'd get together again and sew something new for her big debut. I've decided to make use of the pattern I put together last year for my special autumn and winter dress sets. I've had requests to release the templates to buy, and I will be doing that soon. For today, I'll be making a rounded bib front dress with pointed collar and short puffed sleeves. I'll start by attaching some lace to my bib front with fabric glue. Then I'll draw in the 5mm seam allowance curve round the bib shape on the bodice. I snip into the seam allowance and press the curve open. To join the bib parts, I first temporarily hand stitch it together. Once machine stitched, I will hand stitch on a decorative trim. Once that's done, I'll join the two bodice back pieces to the front at the shoulders. Next, I'll sew the collar pieces. Made in two parts, I sew round 3 sides of each, leaving an opening to turn them through. I cut the collar neatly at the inner curve, then use pinking shears to trim the rest. Once turned through, I iron the collar pieces. I snip into the seam allowance round the bodice neckline. I use fabric glue to temporarily hold the collar in place. I line both pieces up with the center front, aligning the raw edges together on the inner curve. Next, I pin the facing piece to the bodice, sandwiching the collar inside. I'll sew round the sides and inner curve before trimming and turning through. Once turned, There's a natural fold-in at either centre back piece. I press them with the iron and also iron the facing. You can add a little stitch here and there to secure your facing on the inside. Sometimes I use iron-on interfacing instead so it can be pressed in place. For the sleeves, I'll sew gathering stitches into the tops and bottoms of both, so they can be gathered to the right size to set into the armholes and cuffs. Use a long straight stitch, anchored at one end or open at both, then pull the bobbin thread to gather the fabric. I estimate the gather needed to fit the armhole, then tie the loose ends of my gathering stitch. I then machine stitch the sleeves into place. I tuck the seam allowance towards the body. If desired, another stitch can be added to secure the facing here. Once both sleeves are attached, I gather the hems and pin them to the cuffs before sewing. I can then flip the cuff towards the inside, encasing the hem, and I will top stitch from the outer side in the ditch, following the crease to make an invisible join. Here are my finished cuffs and the stitches holding my facing piece neatly. Now I will fold in the sides and sew to enclose the bodice. I snip the seam allowance in the curve and turn the sleeves out. Now I have a waistline to attach a skirt to. Here I've got two layers for my skirt, a floral outer layer and a pinstripe under layer. I've left both hems raw, pulling out a few rows of thread to give a soft finish. I'll sew on some lace before overlapping them and joining with two lines of gathering stitches at the top. Here they're joined, and again I'll pull on the bobbin threads to gather the waistline in. I take the bodice and fold out the outer edges to properly align with the skirt. With right sides facing, I pin the skirt to the bodice before sewing along the waistline. With both pieces joined, it's really coming together. I finger press both back edges back inward again and will use a fine Velcro for the closure. The rough side will face outward away from the doll, and the soft side on the inner edge. I'll leave a link to this Velcro in the description too. Now I flip the skirt round and pin with right sides in before sewing closed. I leave an opening below the Velcro and secure my stitches well. I do hope you will check out everyone else's videos in today's collaboration. I can't wait to see what extra outfits they've each made. With my skirt closed in, I'll just zigzag this edge, then turn it out. Oh, it's looking really cute, but I've more to do still. I'll add embellishments to the sleeves and bib. I'll add a few stitches to the collar to secure the tips, and I think some embroidery on the skirt too. I hope you've enjoyed this so far. I decided to stick with a very Wednesday style of dress today and made use of that really lovely tiny leafy print from my fabric stash, as well as 2 different pinstripe cottons that were repurposed from men's shirts. I stuck to black and white, and I think the short puffed sleeves will really suit her. Alright, it's finished. Time to get her dressed up in her new outfit. Here's my Wednesday in her original dress and shoes. I looked out this tiny studded bracelet I made for a previous goth collab. And I used a little of the facing fabric to make a simple hairband for her too. It velcros in the back. I also looked out these little boots from AliExpress, I think, that I painted some extra detail onto. And there we go. That completes her outfit, I think. Do you like the embellishments I added? I stitched on tiny red jewels, reminiscent of drops of blood, I thought. There's a tiny nail art skull on the bodice too, and a resin rose on the skirt, with an embroidered rose next to it. I also stitched tiny beads to the sleeve cuffs. Well, before we see her final detail shots, let's give her fringe a little trim so we can see her grumpy eyebrows underneath. Oh, that's better. She's like a whole new Wednesday. Well, thank you to my friends Jay, Tammy and Marna for this lovely collaboration once again. I will say we have lots more group content coming before this year is over, so stay tuned. I really hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a like and let me know in the comments what you thought of my sewing for Wednesday. I hope you'll watch to the end to see Wednesday and her little friends buy her dark Halloween tree. She'll have to enjoy it quick because Christmas is coming. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and I'll see you soon. Bye!